week, we started our journey to the cross for the 6 days prior to Passover, which was on Friday, April the 23rd, 28 CE, the 9th day of the first month. And we ended with Yeshua clearing out the temple, turning over the money changer tables on Sunday, the 11th day of the first month, which is April 25th, 28 CE. We're now on day 4, following the 6th day prior to Passover timeline, which means we're on Monday. We will continue this journey of comparing the Hebrew roots and Christianity perspective of the Holy Week. Welcome to Reconcile the Kingdom, where we're working together and becoming in harmony of the whole word of truth. Thank you for joining me on today. My name is Patrice Robinson. Like I said, we're on Monday from the Hebrew roots perspective, which is the 11th day of the first month, April the 26th, 28 CE. And we talked a little bit last week about the dates and how do we get the dates. So we're just going to jump right on in, and we're going to turn our Bible to Mark chapter 11, verse 20 through 26. Like I said, in order to get an understanding of the Holy Week, we will do a lot of reading, and this is why we come together, is to learn the Word of God together. Like I said, Mark chapter 11, verse 20 through 26, and it reads as they were passing by in the morning, remember that was on Sunday when they passed over the morning, that they saw the fig tree withered by the roots up. And being reminded, Peter said to him, Rabbi, look at the fig tree that you cursed has withered. And Jesus answered and said to them, Yeshua answered and said to them, have faith in Yehovah. Truly I say to you, whoever says this mountain be taken up and thrown into the sea, and does not doubt it in his heart, but believes that what he is saying is going to happen, it will be granted to him. Therefore, I say to you, all things for which you pray and ask, believe that you have received them, and they will be granted to you. And whenever you stand praying, forgive if you have anything against anyone, so that your Father who is in heaven will also forgive you for all your offenses. But if you do not forgive, neither will your Father who is in heaven forgive you of your offenses. As you see, Yeshua, Jesus, was able to take the time out on Monday when Peter was seeing the tree that was withered, which he commanded to wither on Sunday. Now they're on Monday. They're going past that same area, and Peter is amazed at this fig tree that he's spoken on Sunday to be withered. He took the time out to use that as a teaching tool to pray, the power of prayer, and how unforgiveness can hinder your prayer. So let's continue. We're on Matthew chapter 11, verse 27 through 33. And it reads and they came again to Jerusalem. This is Monday. Here we are again in Jerusalem, disciples, Yeshua. And as he was walking in the temple area, the chief priests, the scribes, the elders came to him and began saying to him, by what authority are you doing these things? Or who gave you this authority to do these things? But Yeshua, Jesus said to them, I will ask you one question, and you answer me, and then I will tell you about what authority I do these things. Was this baptism of John from heaven or from men? Answer me. And they begin considering the implications among themselves, saying, if they say from heaven, he will say, then why did you not believe him? But if should we say from men, they were afraid of the people, for they all considered John to have been a real prophet. Answering Yeshua, Jesus, they said, we do not know. And Yeshua, Jesus said to them, neither am I telling you by what authority I do these things. Powerful. Monday is the last day Yeshua, Jesus, will be teaching in the temple. He took the time to teach the people of many parables. Monday encompassed many parables, and we will not have the time to go over them all. So I'll only pick one. And one thing to note, from the Christian's perspective, the day that Yeshua was teaching the parables, for them, it occurred on a Tuesday. But for the Hebrew roots perspective, it occurred on Monday. And again, as we continue the timeline, you begin to see why these things wasn't lined up from the Christian perspective biblically, in the Hebrew roots perspective, how it's lined up biblically. So turn your Bible to Matthew chapter 22. We're going to go to verse 1 through 14. Remember, this is a lot of reading. Yeshua, Jesus, spoke to them again in parables, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who held a wedding feast for his sons. And he sent his slaves to call those who had been invited to the wedding feast. And they were unwilling to come. Again, he sent other slaves, saying, tell those who have been invited, behold, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen, my fattened cattle, and all the butchered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast. But they paid no attention and went their separate ways, one to his own farm, another to his business, and the rest seized his slaves and treated them abusively, and then killed them. Now the king was angry, and he sent his armies and destroyed those murderers and set the city on fire. Then he said to his slaves, the wedding feast is ready, but those who were invited were not worthy. So go to the main roads and invite whoever you find there to the wedding feast. Those slaves went out to the streets and gathered together all whom they found, both bad and good. And the wedding hall was filled with dinner guests. But when the king came in to look at the dinner guests, he saw a man there who was not dressed in his wedding clothes. And he said to him, friend, how did you get in here without your wedding clothes? And the man was speechless. Then the king said to the servants, tie his hands and his feet and throw him in the outer darkness. There will be weeping and there will be weeping, gnashing of teeth in that place. For many are called, but few are chosen. This is a very powerful parable that really deserves a teaching all along itself. But, we don't have the time to do that. But we need to make sure, each of us need to make sure that we have our wedding garments on. Now, the religious leaders decided to speak to Yeshua, Jesus, trying to trip him up. Now, we will normally, as a Hebrew roots perspective, we will look at this as a way of seeing if the sacrificial lamb has no blemish. So remember, the sacrificial lamb for the Passover had to have no spot, no wrinkle, no issues with it. It had to be perfect. So this is the way the Hebrew roots perspective we look at as the lens of the different religious leaders are coming to inspect the sacrificial lamb when they're trying to trip him up. So we're going to begin Now we're still in Matthew. We just go on to verse 15 through 22. Then the Pharisees went and plotted together how they might trip him in what he said. And they sent their disciples to him along with the Herodians, saying, Teacher, we know that you are truthful and teach the way of Yehovah in truth. And you don't care what anyone thinks, for you are not partial to anyone. Tell us then, what do you think? Is it possible to pay a poll tax to Caesar or not? So they trying to see if Yeshua is okay with paying the poll taxes to Caesar. But Yeshua, Jesus, perceived their malicious thoughts and said, Why are you testing me, you hypocrites? Show me the coin used for the poll tax. And they brought him a denarius. And he said to them, Whose image and inscription is this? And they said to him, Caesar's. Then he said to them, Then pay to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to Yehovah the things that are Yehovah. And hearing this, they were amazed that they left him and went away. Now, these were the Pharisees that left and went away. They left and went away. So, again, we're still on Monday. And Yeshua was able to take the time to teach his disciples about the power of prayer. So we went over that. And now we over the Pharisees are now are trying to trip him up. So that was the Pharisees. Now we on the Sadducees. So let's continue on verse 23. On that day, some Sadducees who say they don't believe in the resurrection came to Yeshua and questioned him, saying, Teacher, Moses said, if a man dies having no children, his brother as next of kin should marry his wife and raise up children for his brother. Now, there were 7 brothers among us, and the first married and died, having no children, and he left his wife to his brother, and it was the same also with the second brother, the third, down to the 7th. Last of all, the woman died. In the resurrection, therefore, whose wife of the 7 will she be? For they all had her in marriage. But Yeshua, Jesus answered, said to them, You are mistaken, since you do not understand the scriptures nor the power of Yehovah. For in the resurrection there will be neither married nor given to marriage, but are like angels in heaven. But regarding the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was spoken to you by Yehovah? I am the God of Abraham. I am the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. When the crowds heard this, they were astonished at his teaching. So we had the Pharisees. Now we have the Sadducees, both trying to trip him up, and, unsuccessfully. You can't trip up Yeshua. Remember, he is a written word. Now, the last of the religious group that came to test him is the scribes. So let's continue to verse 34. We're still in Matthew chapter 22. But when the Pharisees heard that Yeshua had silenced the Sadducees, they were gathered together. And one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question, testing him, Teacher, which is the great command in the law? And he said to him, You shall love their God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your mind. This is Yeshua saying. Once again, I would like to repeat that. You shall love Yehovah with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul. This is the greatest commandment. This is the great and foremost commandment. The second is like it. you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Upon these two commandments hang the whole law and the prophets. Now, I want to stop here. That's not saying that these are the only two commandments that, excuse me, that you follow. What he's saying is that these two hang the whole law and the prophets. All this hang on these two. The love that we have for Yehovah with our minds, our body, and our soul, and to love our neighbor as we love ourselves hangs the whole law. Now, these two commandments need to be a teaching fully to understand what the Lord is saying, and we're not going to get in that today, and that will be a future video. So sooner or later, we're going to get to that. So the religious leaders were not happy about what was going on, because they wasn't able to trip them up. So they had to figure out a way to try to pull up a plot how to get rid of Yeshua. So let's read. We are now in Matthew 26, verses 1 through 5. When Yeshua had finished all these words, he said to his disciples, you know that after 2 days, the Passover is coming. Remember, we on Monday. The Passover is coming, and the Son of Man is to be handed over for a crucifixion. And at that time, the chief priests and the elders of the people were gathered together in the country, and the high priest, Cephas, they plotted together to arrest Yeshua, to kill him, to overtly aim to kill him. But they're saying not during the festival, otherwise a riot might occur among the people. So they can't do this. They're putting a plot together, but they're not going to do it during the feast, because the people will cause a riot, because the feasts are important. So comment below if you're getting something so far. Just let me know that you hear and what you're getting and what you're not understanding. The plotting against Yeshua is the end of Monday. So we just went over Monday. So now we're on Tuesday. So Tuesday is the 13th month, the 13th day of the first month, which is April the 27th, 28 CE. Once again, Tuesday is the 13th day of the first month, April the 27th, 28 CE. Remember, from the Christian perspective, Tuesday was the day of parables. But for the Hebrew roots, Tuesday is the 13th of the last day to get rid of the leaven out of the community. So remember, they had to get rid of all the leaven out of their households, out of the community. And the Last Supper is to be eaten with leaven. So they're trying to get rid of all the leavened bread. Therefore, we are on the last day before the Passover meal. Remember, we spoke in Matthew 26, where Yeshua said in 2 days. So we're on Tuesday. So the last day before the Passover meal, but we're going to view a few events prior to the meal. So let's turn to Matthew 23, verses 14 through 16. Excuse me. When one of the 12, named Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, what are you willing to give me to betray him to you? And they set out for him 30 pieces of silver. And from then on, he looked for a good opportunity to betray Yeshua, Jesus. As the timing comes for preparation to be ready for the Passover, Yeshua and Jesus, his disciples, need a place to rent to have a meal. So this time, they are actually going to be in Jerusalem, because the law commands them to be in Jerusalem for this Passover feast. Now, the first day of Unleavened Bread, the disciples came to Yeshua and asked, where do you want us to prepare for you to eat the Passover? And he said, go into the city to a certain man and say to him, the teacher says, my time is near. I am keeping the Passover at your house with my disciples. The disciples did as Yeshua, Jesus, had directed them, and they prepared for the Passover. They prepared the Passover. Let me read this again. I want to see if everyone catch on to this. Now, on the first day of Unleavened Bread, the disciples came to Yeshua and asked, where do you want us to prepare for you to eat the Passover? And he said, go to the city, a certain man, and say to him, the teacher says, my time is near. I'm keeping the Passover at your house with my disciples. The disciples did as Yeshua, Jesus, had directed them, and they prepared the Passover. Houston, we have a problem. I don't know if this era that is from the translation, but there's a problem because unleavened bread does not come before the Passover meal. The Passover meal is eaten on the first day of unleavened bread. Remember, the Passover meal is prepared on the 14th day and eaten on the 15th day, which is the first day of unleavened bread. This is why we all need to learn the foundational scriptures, the Old Testament, the Tanakh, because you would catch these mistakes like this and avoid misunderstanding. Now, we're in the evening of Tuesday before the Passover meal, so turn to John chapter 13, verses 1 through 2. Now, before the feast of the Passover, Yeshua, knowing that his hour had come, that he would depart from this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. Again, we're not having the Passover meal. Let's turn to Luke 22, 14, 16. When the hour come, he reclined at the table, and the apostles with him, and he said to them, I'm eagerly desired to eat the Passover with you before I suffer. For I say to you, I shall not eat again until it is fulfilled in the kingdom of Yehovah. So he's not eating the Passover meal. It literally says, I'm eagerly desired to eat the Passover meal with you. This Passover before I suffer, but I will not eat until all is fulfilled in the kingdom of Yehovah. Instead, he breaks bread and have wine. So we're going to go to verse 17, and we're going to read verse 17 through 20. We're still in Luke. And when he had taken a cup and given thanks, he said, take this and share it among yourselves. For I say to you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine from now or on until the kingdom of Yehovah comes. And when he had taken some bread and given thanks, he broke and gave to them, saying, this is my body, which has been given to you. Do this in remembrance of me. Now, when I read that, doesn't it remind you of an event in the Old Testament in the Tanakh? It reminds me of an incident in the Old Testament. In the Tanakh, it does. Abraham met Melchizedek and the king of Salem, who brought out the bread and wine. Yes, this has been happening since then. Yeshua said to Abraham, he said, Abraham seen his day and was glad that he had seen it. Breaking bread and wine was not new to the disciples because it was something that was practiced since then. However, they may have finally realized the meaning of it. Let's continue. During this Last Supper, the day before Passover, Yeshua announces one that will betray him. So we're going to look at Matthew 26, verses 21 through 26. As they were eating, he said, "Truly I say to you, one of you will betray me." Being deeply grieved, they began saying to him, each one, "Surely it is not I, Lord." And he answered, "He who dipped his hand with me in the bowl is the one who will betray me. The Son of Man is going away, just as it is written about him. But woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been good for that man if he had not been born." And Judas, who was betraying him, said, "Surely it is not I, Rabbi." And Yeshua said to him, "You have said it yourself." There were so many other events that occurred on Tuesday, including Yeshua, Jesus telling Peter, Kepha, being his Hebrew name, will betray him. 3 times before the rooster crows, you will betray me. He told Peter that. That's another event that happened on Tuesday. Telling disciples to purchase a sword that happened on Tuesday, which let us know this wasn't Passover meal because everything would have been closed due to the feast being a high Sabbath. So we know this still isn't the Passover meal. Now, from the Christian perspective, the Last Supper was the Passover meal. And it occurred on Tuesday, the 13th, which we do read, Yeshua wished that he hadn't had the meal, but he doesn't. We're going to end Tuesday with, Yeshua praying. He went to Gethsemane, and later he was arrested. This is how we leave in Tuesday. And we're going to read it. It's Matthew 26, verse 55 to 56. At this time, Yeshua said to his crowds, "Have you come out here with swords and clubs to arrest me as you would against a man inciting a revolt? Every day I sit within the temple grounds teaching." He literally said every day. "And you did not arrest me. But all this has taken place so the scriptures of the prophets will be fulfilled." Then all the disciples left him and fled. Left Yeshua on his own. Everyone left. So let's summarize. We began on day 1 last week, which was Friday, April the 23rd, 28 CE. The 9th day of the first month, which was the start of the 6th day prior to Passover meal, and Yeshua, Jesus, arrives in Bethany. Day 2 was Saturday, April the 24th, 28 CE, the 10th day of the first month, which was the event of the infamous triumph entry of our King and our chosen sacrificial lamb. Day 3 was Sunday, April the 25th, 28 CE, the 11th day of the first month, which is the event with the withering of the fig tree and the cleansing of the temple, because the money changers had unjust weight. So he was, tossing the tables and clearing out the temple. They were stealing from the people. Today we covered day 4, was Monday, April the 26th, 28 CE. That is the 12th day of the first month, which is the last day Yeshua teaches in the temple. He was questioned by religious leaders, and many parables were taught. Day 5 was Tuesday, April the 27th, 28 CE, the 13th day of the first month, which is the one day before Passover. And we saw the translator made a mistake on the first day of the Unleavened Bread. The wordship had maybe said getting prepared for the feast of Unleavened Bread instead of the first day of Unleavened Bread. both Monday and Tuesday had so much in it. It was a lot in it that we were not able to cover. But in the future, I plan on going through the Gospels, I should say, in depth. So one day that would happen. So I really hope that this sparks some more thoughts, some more questions, so much more that you want to dive into the scriptures and figure out the understanding of the whole word of truth. And study. So hit the like button, subscribe, and share as we continue to explore the whole word of truth. May Yehovah bless you and keep you. May Yehovah shine his face and give you favor. May Yehovah shine his face towards you and give you his peace. In the name of Yeshua. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.